Welcome to The Explainer. All right, today we're tackling a big one, the Book of Revelations. Now, a lot of people think it's just about end-of-the-world prophecies, but we're going to dig deeper. We're going to uncover its really powerful and honestly, surprisingly timeless allegory about sin and salvation.
And right out of the gate, the text just hits you with this idea that gets to the absolute heart of the conflict. Let our power and will be our God. I mean, think about that. It's this incredible statement about humanity basically deciding to go its own way. And as we're about to see, that one choice, well, that's where all the trouble begins.
Okay, so how are we going to break all this down? We're just going to follow the story that the text lays out for us. We'll kick things off with the problem, which it calls the corrupted flock. And then we'll really get into the anatomy of sin. After that, we'll look at the consequences in judgment and mercy, before exploring the solutions offered through some parables for the soul. And finally, we'll map out the path to redemption.
So where does a problem like this even start? Well, according to this text, the rot begins right at the top. We're about to see how it diagnoses this deep crisis of leadership, leading to what it calls a corrupted flock. The text uses a symbol that I think most of us will recognize, the golden calf from the Old Testament. But it's not just a dusty old story here. In this context, the calf isn't just a statue, it represents something way bigger, a complete and total obsession with the material world, with making our own wants and desires the final authority.
And this is where it gets really fascinating. The text doesn't just show us an idol, it's like it performs an autopsy on it. Every single part of this golden calf is a symbol for a specific human weakness. So the 4 feet, that's sloth, impatience, something called superfluous rejoicing, just empty, excessive partying, and of course, greed. The head and throat, that's pure, insatiable gluttony. And the tail, well, that stands for lust, pride, and greedily holding on to your stuff. It's a pretty brilliant way to visualize the anatomy of sin itself.
The critique of hypocrisy here is just razor sharp, especially when it's aimed at spiritual leaders. The metaphor of the thorn bush is perfect, right? It looks beautiful and inviting from a distance, but if you get too close, you find nothing but sharp thorns and hidden malice. It's this powerful warning that what you see on the outside isn't always what's going on inside.
So we've seen the corruption in the leadership. Now, the text zooms in even further. It identifies 3 specific fundamental sins that it argues are really at the root of all human failings.
And to explain this, the text takes us way back to the story of the Israelites in the desert, kind of like a case study. Their first big sin was idolatry, loving the world more than anything else. The second was longing. The text talks about flesh pots, which is an old-fashioned way of talking about the rich food they miss from Egypt. It symbolizes this endless desire for material comfort and excess, wanting stuff we just don't need. And number 3, pride. The belief that, we can save ourselves. We don't need any help.
And this quote just nails the text's definition of idolatry. See, it's not about bowing down to statues. It's about what you treasure. The point is, if the material world is what your heart truly wants, then for all intents and purposes, the world has become your God. Okay, so humanity is in this state of pretty deep corruption. What happens next? What's the divine response? Well, the text lays out this really fascinating spiritual map, one that includes both terrifying punishment and, believe it or not, the constant hope of mercy. So the text basically maps out existence into 4 different zones. You've got heaven for the righteous and hell for the unrepentant. But it's the 2 places in the middle that are really interesting. There's our world, the realm of the living, and then there's purgatory. And this is a concept that's both terrifying and hopeful at the same time. It's a place of painful purification, and this is a big but, it's a place where souls still have a shot at redemption. And this part is absolutely key. Even in purgatory, a place described as being full of torment, the text introduces this idea of a 3-fold mercy. This means that even in punishment, there's a limit. The suffering isn't just to punish, it's designed to purify. That's a huge statement that redemption, not just endless payback, is always the ultimate goal. And the punishments? They are chillingly specific. The text describes a system where the punishment fits the crime, almost like a dark, cosmic version of our own justice system. Corrupt judges who took bribes, they get the hottest fire. The defenders who just look the other way, they're hung on gallows of severe torment. And the workers who just scorn their gifts, they're treated like animals. It's a very stark, very methodical vision of divine justice.
So after laying out all of these terrifying judgments, the text kind of shifts gears. It's not just about warnings, it's also about guidance. It gives us a series of these powerful allegories, or parables, that are designed to show people how to live a better life.
The first big parable is called the Lord's City. So imagine a perfectly designed city built on divine wisdom. It represents the world as it should be. But then its inhabitants decide, hey, we know better. They trade in that divine wisdom for what the text calls human wisdom, which is really just a nice way of saying selfish, short-sighted thinking. And that's when the whole thing starts to fall apart.
And the folks living in this corrupted city should sound pretty familiar. Yep, they're the same groups we just saw facing judgment: the bribe-taking judges, the lazy defenders, and the self-indulgent workers. It's this powerful image of a society just rotting from the inside out at every single level.
Then we get another powerful parable that compares humanity to a flock of sheep, but this flock is split right down the middle. On one side, you have the dead sheep. Those are the ones who have completely given in to sin. But then you have the live sheep. Now, they might be scared, they might even be in hiding, but the crucial thing is they haven't lost their faith. There's still a little flicker of hope there.
And this brings us to the final, and you could argue the most important part of this whole journey. After all the warnings and all the descriptions of sin, the text finally gives us the answer, a clear step-by-step guide on how to actually find the path to redemption.
The text describes our inner struggle as a battle between two forces. On one side, you have the divine spirit, described with words like hot, sweet, and pure. It inspires love. And on the other side, you have the demonic spirit, described as burning, bitter, and unclean. It fuels our worst impulses. The core message here is that every single day, we're choosing which of these two spirits to feed. And you know what? The path back isn't presented as some huge mystery. It's laid out as a simple three-step process. Step 1, a full and honest confession. Step 2, genuine humility and the actual desire to change your ways. And step 3, prayer, asking for the grace to truly feel remorse. It's a clear roadmap back from the...
And this really is the ultimate takeaway. For all its fire and brimstone, the story always comes back to this one powerful idea: mercy. The text's final message is one of incredible hope, painting this picture of a loving Father who is always ready to forgive a genuinely repentant heart.
And so, we're left with the question that this ancient text poses, and it's a question that's just as relevant today as it was centuries ago. In a world that's constantly telling us to follow our own will, what does it really mean to choose a different path? And what do we do when we realize we might be the ones who are full of the devil? That is something to think about.